We have 3 teenagers, plus a 12-year-old, plus an 11-year-old. Forecast, not great. Definitely hurricane season. And I freely admit my wife has it harder, much harder, but this whole thing is kind of her fault. These children didn't come out of my body. In a way, they're not even my kids. Now, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that whole sperm fertilizing the egg thing, I've never seen that in person. I've seen a simulation of it. You know, how you might stage a landing on the moon. Men should be suspicious. Women discover they're going to become a parent. Men are told. Men find out they're going to be a father the same way they learn they have a terminal illness. Someone comes up and goes, "You should sit down." And men have a similar response. "How much time do I got?" Of course, with paternity tests, now we can scientifically prove who the father is, but for most of human existence, the guy just had to believe what he was told. "I'm pregnant, you're the father." I haven't been home for 2 years. It's a miracle. Occasionally you'll hear about a paternity test. You never hear about a maternity test, though. How do we really know who the mother is? The child came out of my body. Well, then you shouldn't be afraid to take a test. Okay, Jim, that's the dumbest joke of the night. That one. Obviously, paternity tests exist because some men are garbage. And I tell you, as the father of 5, when I hear about these men that abandon their children, I am so filled with jealousy. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. But nothing prepares a man for parenthood. Like, a woman goes through a whole physiological change, not only growing the baby, but there's morning sickness, a nesting instinct takes over. For a guy, during the entire pregnancy, they feel the same, worthless. Which in a way prepares them for fatherhood. What?
I would do anything for my wife. I'm aware of that. But there are people that are more romantic. Prince Edward abdicated his right to the English throne for the woman he loved. Isn't that unbelievable? He was forced to choose between the woman he loved or being king of England, and that idiot chose the broad. Now, I'm sure in that moment it was the right decision, and I'm happily married, but even in the best relationship, each person has thoughts where they go, "I've made an enormous mistake." But we never thought, "I could have been king of England." Do you think Prince Edward really ever got over that? Every time he had to empty the trash, he's like, "The king of England doesn't have to empty trash. The king of England can chat with his ex on Facebook." Can you imagine what kind of news event that abdication was in the UK? There must have been, "He's gone mad. We should get him to hospital." Jim, your British accent is getting worse.
I just know when I go, I want it over quick. Like, if I'm in a plane crash, I want the plane to explode midair. I was reading about this one plane crash. This plane was flying at 30,000 feet, and then it started to nosedive. The plane nosedived for 3 minutes. 3 minutes! Brutal! That's a long time! You know, for the first minute, everyone on that plane was like, "Ah!" But eventually, after like 60 seconds, they were like, "Ah!" Does anyone have any water? I didn't really pace out my dying scream. 3 minutes, that's a long time. You know, someone on that plane rang the flight attendant button. Ding! Do you know how long till we crash? Does this mean I can get a free drink? That's long enough for passengers to get on each other's nerves. When you scream, "Can you not grab my armrest?" "Look, I'll kill you before we even crash."
Maybe the pilot came over the intercom. Hey, everyone, it's your captain here. Just wanted to thank you for choosing to fly with us. Special shout out to our silver medallion members. You would have earned 2,000 miles on today's flight, but it looks like we're not going to quite reach 700. Our flight attendant, Betty's been with the airline for 31 years, and it appears today is her last day. You can go ahead and take your phone off of airplane mode. Heck, I've taken the plane off of airplane mode. At this point, we're just a metal box hurling towards the earth. We should have you back on the ground in about 7 seconds. Is that too dark? It's gonna get worse. Right?
There's no health inspector at the fair. That's why they can do that. Because everything at the fair is very temporary, meaning when the cops come, they can leave. And some of those rides don't look safe. I'll just let my kids go first. No sense in us all dying. But you never want to be judgmental at the fair. You're always like, you know what, I'm sure this ride's fine. You know, I'm sure the guy running the ride, he's probably a structural engineer. Right? We don't know. That's probably how he lost his arm. You know? Because inherently, we're trusting. We're very trusting of elevators. We're like, what is this, a casket on a string? Let's hop on. I don't know how it works, but if it shakes, we'll giggle. We giggle because we realize no one's driving the elevator. We're like, we're all gonna die. Should we press one of these buttons or climb through the trap door in the ceiling that leads to every Bruce Willis movie? What do we do? We also giggle because there's no talking on an elevator, right? You get on an empty elevator, you and a friend, and you're like, I'll tell you later. It's like a den of awkwardness. You just stand there like, are we supposed to kiss? What are we doing? It's very strange. Not as awkward as a stairwell. You ever been in an abandoned stairwell by yourself? You encounter strangers coming the other way. There's always that moment where you meet eyes where you're like, if you don't rape me, I won't rape you. What are you doing in this? What am I doing in this? Are we in an episode of Law and Order? But we volunteer for these awkward situations. Sometimes we pay to participate, like water parks. Those are fun, but there's always that moment where you're like, is this a meeting of people I don't want to see in swimsuits? Because there are people walking around water parks with a confidence that they shouldn't have. And you almost admire it. You're like, you go away from me. You try and figure it out. You're like, is it the fumes from the toxic chemicals combined with the children's urine? What gives you that swagger that would make Beyonce blush? But you don't want to be judgmental. You're like, you know what? They're there for their kids. I'm here for my kids. And compared to them, I look like Magic Mike. So, God bless them. Valentine's Day, the tradition is we give each other those big red hearts filled with the Gamble chocolate. Have you ever eaten any chocolate out of those big red hearts with any confidence? Well, this could either be really good or totally nasty. And I'm just pig enough to find out. I got the one filled with toothpaste. I'm gonna have to eat another 9 to get rid of that flavor. There's the big red hearts filled with the Gamble chocolate, or the tiny chalk heart-shaped antacids. I know I make you nauseous. Here's a Tums with Hug Me written on it. Maybe that'll help. I have been to Victoria's Secret. I had a reason. You know, as a man, you need a reason to be in Victoria's Secret. You can't just be in there like, I'm looking around! See what you ladies are buying. I was getting my wife something for Valentine's Day. You have to reach a point in a relationship where you can get a woman something from Victoria's Secret. It's not like a first date thing, like, thanks for meeting me for dinner. I got you a bustier. Why don't you go in the baño and throw that on? Secretly, every guy wants to go in Victoria's Secret. We walk by in the mall, we're like, one day I'll have a reason. Because, you know, we've seen the catalog. You don't have to search out the catalog. It just shows up in your mail. You're like, oh, what's this? Seems like there's some good articles in here. If I wasn't married, I could get rejected by all these women. And guys, we're just dumb enough. We see that Victoria's Secret store and we think, maybe that's where those models live. They're probably in there right now walking around in angel's wings. They're probably in there having a pillow fight right now. If I could find a practical reason to go in there, it would be amazing. And then you finally go into Victoria's Secret and it's like a Greyhound bus station. What are you guys in between shifts in here? Where's all the angels? There's just stressed out sales ladies with headsets on. Underwear. Where's the open bar? But you're still a guy in a woman's underwear store, and you don't want to look like a creep. That's why every man at Victoria's Secret has the same expression on his face of boring. This place is boring because I'm not a pervert. There's nothing stimulating in here because it's boring to me, especially those huge posters of supermodels, mostly naked. I didn't know what I was looking for, so I went up to a sales lady who had the warmth of a TSA screener. What do you want? Nothing. I didn't touch anything. I'm leaving. Trying to be discreet, I was like, look, I'm looking for something for my wife. She's very intelligent. She's creative. Because you can't say I'm looking for a slutty outfit. She volunteers. She's organized. Maybe that French maid's outfit would be good. Then I was thrown because the sales lady was like, what size? And I was like, size? Female? Small? Because you don't want to guess too big. You don't want to be like, hey, you'll grow into it. I thought you was much bigger. You can't ask a stranger like, hey, excuse me there, lady. You look like you got a keister like my wife's. What size undies you got there? Maybe you could try on this outfit I got. I just wanted it over with. When I was paying, I assumed the awkwardness was over until they handed me my purchase in a bright pink Victoria's Secret bag that I had to carry around the mall the rest of the day that might as well have just said pervert on the side. Me and my ladies' undies. I like ladies' undies so much I got a bag full of them. Heading into Burger King. Yeah, I'll have a Whopper with cheese and a small fries for the ladies' undies. When I got home, I realized you have to find the right time to give your gift from Victoria's Secret. You can't be like, hey, when you're done changing that diaper, I got another changey poo for you. It's a little gift from me to you that's really for me. Because if you're buying a woman something from Victoria's Secret, it's really a gift for you. It's like, here, I got me this. Thank you. I'm welcome. I'm never going back there again. I know nothing about Saint Valentine. I assume he's the patron saint of overpriced greeting cards. That's an odd ritual, really. You know, we go out and we buy cards that already have things written in them. It's like, hey, that's something I'd say. Just add my name here at the bottom. There you go. You like what that other guy wrote in there? Took me 5 seconds to find it. Cost me $2. Greeting cards would make sense if there was something profound written in there, but it's always like, happy birthday. Couldn't think of that yourself? I'm not a slogan machine. I would do anything for my wife, but I'm not a romantic person. I wish I was. There are moments when it's glaringly obvious. I get to travel so much doing stand-up. I did a show in Cologne, Germany, and before the show, I was walking over this bridge that went across the Rhine River, and as I walked across, I noticed there were hundreds of locks on this bridge, and each of the locks had 2 initials. And it was apparent that couples had put their lock there as a symbol of their relationship. And I looked at it and I thought, that's perfect. Nothing captures love like a rusty padlock. dangling over filthy water. But it was visually spectacular, and it affected me. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. I found myself spending the next hour just kind of looking for a hardware store in this town I had never been in. I spent an hour looking, and eventually I found a hardware store. I went in, and I bought a bolt cutter. And I went back, and I started snipping off the locks. And with each snip, I said, "It's over. Over. You're free." And people were giving me dirty looks. Now, what a grand romantic gesture, right? But you know the first guy who did that was a psycho. Like, his partner or girlfriend was not a willing participant. He was like, "You're probably wondering why I brought you to the middle of the bridge. In March, I'm gonna do something you'll never ever forget." She was like, "Oh my gosh, are you gonna jump?" "No, I want to put this lock here. I'll put it here as a symbol of our love, and soon others will do it, and the bridge will be covered with locks. But you'll know that the first lock was a symbol of our love." And the woman was like, "Is that my bike lock?" "Not anymore.